I'm across from the Dragon Quest Lawson right now to introduce this guy, Dragon Quest. Yeah, let's talk about it.
The Dragon Quest series is like a prerequisite for being an RPG fan. You at least have to know something about it, whether it be the slimes, hero, or maybe even the iconic music. There's no getting around the fact that the Dragon Quest series has been extremely influential to the RPG genre as a whole. Back when I first started to get into retro gaming, my friend and I set up an NES with a CRT TV in his basement, and one of the first games we played was Dragon Quest I. We played the game a little bit here and there, but we never got too far into it. And to be honest, that's probably because we didn't have a map or a manual. We didn't know what we were doing. The game has remained in my memory, even if we saw virtually none of it. Ever since then though, I haven't really played a Dragon Quest game or even thought about playing one too much. But lately I've been hearing lots of pretty good things about the series as a whole, so I decided to give it a shot. And what's a better place to start than with the beginning? So let's see how Dragon Quest I holds up a whole 38 years later. The story is pretty much as bare bones as it gets. It's very much like so many other retro video game plots. Rescue the princess, beat the bad guy, boom. It's not much, but it gives a pretty clear view of what you're trying to accomplish. There really are no spoilers. Literally you just save a princess, beat up the Dragon Lord. It's that simple. So while the story is painfully simple, you gotta remember that when this game came out, most games still looked like this. The action in Dragon Quest is also, by today's standards, pretty simple. It's the typical RPG fare. You walk around, you fight monsters, level up, explore towns, talk to people, buy stuff, and repeat. Depending on the zone that you're in on the world map, there are monsters of varying difficulty, and I found that the progression in the game is very smooth. You never have to grind that much, which is absolutely amazing. There's some secrets to find along the way too, like in dungeons in the world map. And there's even some sort of puzzles to work out, although they're all pretty much navigation related. You get no additional party members either, and the spells and items you get along the way never get too extravagant, and there's not many of them either. But the simplicity doesn't stop it from being fun, and I actually think that it makes the game pretty addictive. Since there is never too much need to pay attention while you're playing, it can be really easy just to zone out and get into a Dragon Quest trance. I'd argue that Koichi Sugiyama's score for this game is definitely in the top 5 most iconic RPG soundtracks, and that's saying something. There aren't many tracks, since it is an NES game after all, but the ones we get are amazing. Everything from the to the town theme to the battle music are brilliant. Being able to listen to this great soundtrack in context is a big reason to play Dragon Quest I. The original chiptune versions sound good, they're great actually, but the arranged versions on the Switch release are just, they're just good. Alright, so here's the thing. I'm not sure if it's worth it to play the original version anymore when there's a far greater way to play it now. The original version of the game has a few things that make it age poorly. For starters, you can't make quick saves anywhere, so it's just not as easy to pick up and play the game. When it comes to like most dungeons, and especially the final castle with the Dragon Lord, you really need to set some time aside. The biggest issue, however, is that gosh darned menu system. Every action in the game is done through a menu system, whether it be talking to people, opening doors, going downstairs, what have you. Every action is done through this menu. This makes everything super tedious and slow. In most other RPGs, you can just, walk through a door. But here, you gotta select door in the menu. This is not intuitive, and honestly, it's probably the reason my friend and I never got far. But there is a saving grace.
Thanks, Johnny. All right, let's go exploring. As promised, here is the final Jeopardy clue for you. Mort, you are right. If you wagered anything more than $1 and you did 12.
Oh my God!
This version gives the game all of the standard RPG design elements we have come to know and love. Quick saving is available on top of still being able to use the original save points if you please. And thank God, the menu is gone. Now everything can be done the way the RPG gods intended. With the button. I never thought I'd be so happy about being able to simply walk up to an NPC and instantly talk to them, but here we are. Nevertheless, these quality of life improvements, plus the cleaned up graphics and orchestral score, make this version the one to get. The original will always be the original, but the remake is the way to go. Playing Dragon Quest really helps in learning to appreciate the roots of the RPG genre. This really was one of the first games of its kind, coming out a year before Final Fantasy. By playing this game, it's easy to see just how far the genre has come since its beginnings. It is definitely worth to play this title solely for the important connection it has to the genre, but I'd say there's still a lot of fun to be had in this adventure regardless of its historical impacts. Dragon Quest really feels like your adventure, as you traverse the world on your own volition, stumbling into towns and conquering fierce beasts. While the original version still has a little bit of that 80s funk, the Switch and mobile version of the game is great, and you can get it for just a few dollars. Also, there have been a few other remakes that have come out over the years I haven't looked into, but they're there if you want to check them out. So, to answer the question, yes, I do think it is worth it to play Dragon Quest today. It's pretty evident through playing it. You can kind of see why the series is so loved and important. There's just something about it, even with that simplicity. So yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone. Give it a shot any way you can.